In this lesson, we're going to be comparing masses by ordering them on a number line and using our equality and inequality statements, so those greater than, less than, and equal to signs that we use. So let's turn to our textbook and have a look at our first question. So looking at this image, what story do you think we're being told? Think about the details in the image and think about whether there could be any mathematical questions that you could create before we look at the actual work. Pause the video and have a think about what maths might be in this context. Now let's see what the questions are that we're going to be focusing on right now. So for question 1a, we're asked, does the pumpkin or the pineapple have the greater mass, and how do we know? So if we look, we can see that attached to the pumpkins and pineapples are a label, and they have the mass or the weight of them. Now, would it help to convert the grams to kilograms and grams for the pineapples, or would it help to convert the kilograms and grams to grams for the pumpkins? Think about which way is going to make it the easiest. Do you think that it's the largest item by size that has the largest mass, or do you think there's not that connection? For question 1b, we're asked, the melon weighs more than the pumpkin, but less than the pineapple. How much could the melon weigh? Think about how you're going to answer this. Are you going to answer this question by giving the mass in grams, or are you going to give the answer in kilograms and grams? And why do you think you're going to choose that? So now it's time to pause the video and to answer our two questions. So 1a, does the pumpkin or the pineapple have the greater mass, and how do we know? And then question 1b, the melon weighs more than the pumpkin, but less than the pineapple. How much could the melon weigh? So pause the video, give these two questions a go, and come and join me when you're ready to investigate the strategies we could use. So let's begin by looking at question 1a. Does the pumpkin or the pineapple have the greater mass? How do we know? Now with this, we've got two different units that we're trying to compare. We've got the pineapples that weigh 1,243 grams and the pumpkins that weigh 1 kilogram, 230 grams. So we've got two choices here. Are we going to convert the pineapples from grams on their own to kilograms and grams? Or are we going to convert pumpkins from kilograms and grams to grams on their own? Because by converting them so that both the pineapples and the pumpkins are using the same units, it will make it far easier for us to make that comparison. So let's begin by looking at our pineapples. And with the pineapples, we're going to convert the 1,243 grams into kilograms and grams. So our first question to ask is, how many grams are equal to 1 kilogram? Well spotted. 1,000 grams are equivalent or equal to 1 kilogram. So we now know that from our 1,243 grams, if we use our part-whole model, part of that is 1 kilogram, which is going to leave us with the remaining amount, which is 243 grams. So now we know that the pineapple weighs 1,243 grams, or 1 kilogram, 243 grams. So let's now take a look at our pumpkin. Now for our pumpkin, we know that it's weighing 1 kilogram and 230 grams. So now what we need to do is convert our kilograms into grams and then add them together. And we know from our last time that 1 kilogram is equal to or equivalent to 1,000 grams. And then we're going to add on our 230 grams to that. So 1,000 plus 230 gives us the answer of 1,230. So the pumpkin weighs 1,230 grams, or 1 kilogram and 230 grams. And here we can see the mass of the pineapple and the pumpkin side by side in both grams and also in kilograms and grams. Now another way that we could have converted these units would have been by using a table. So we know that 1,000 grams is equivalent to 1 kilogram. so that we know that in our pineapples we are dealing with 1 kilogram, and with our pumpkins we're dealing with 1 kilogram. Then we move on to our grams, so those amounts that are less than 1,000. So for pineapple we can see that we had 1 kilogram, 1,000 grams, and we have a remainder of 243 grams. And our pumpkin, we can see we've got our 1 kilogram, and then we've also got our additional 230 grams. And now we can make a simple comparison about which one is biggest. So if we look at the pineapples and the pumpkins, we start with the biggest value unit, which in this case are kilograms. We can see that they are both the same, they've both got 1. Then when we move to the grams, we can look at the hundreds of grams first. Well, they both have 2 hundreds. Then we move on to our tens of grams, and we can see that the pineapple has 4 tens, and the pumpkin has 3 tens. So we can see that the pineapple has more or greater mass. So now we can make the answer of the pineapple has 1,243 grams, which is greater than a pumpkin, which has 1,230 grams. So our answer is the item with the greater mass is a pineapple at 1,243 grams, or 1 kilogram, 243 grams. Now let's have a look at question 1b. Here we're being asked, the melon weighs more than the pumpkin, but less than the pineapple. How much could the melon weigh? And in order to answer this one, I'm going to be using a number line, and I'm going to be using the knowledge that I had from the previous question, where I've converted both masses of the items into kilograms and grams. At the beginning of my number line, I'm going to record the smaller mass. In this case, the mass of the pumpkins, because we're told that the melon is going to weigh more than this. However, I now know the number that I can place at the end of my number line, because we're told that the melon is going to weigh less than the pineapple, which means the melon can be no greater than 1 kilogram and 243 grams. So we now know that the melon must weigh between these amounts. It must be more than 1 kilogram and 230 grams, but less than 1 kilogram and 243 grams. Meaning that the answer will be any of the masses that we can see in the red bubbles. So anything from 1 kilogram and 231 grams all the way through to 1 kilogram and 242 grams. So which mass did you choose? Or could it be the lightest the melon could weigh? And what could be the heaviest the melon could weigh? So now we've had the opportunity to investigate the different strategies we can use in our Discover question. Now it's time to continue with the textbook before we move on to our workbook and our independent activity. And for our first Think Together question in our textbook, we're asked, Max weighs some other items from the shop, and we're asked to compare the amounts using our equality and inequality symbols. And we can see the 3 of them below, which represent less than, greater than, or equals to. So think carefully about how you're going to convert each of the masses into equivalent units. So changing from either kilograms and grams to grams, or changing from grams to kilograms and grams, whichever you find easiest, and then decide what needs to go between each one to compare them. Is it going to be less than, greater than, or equal to? And once you've completed that, then you can continue with that independent work in your workbook.